It's showtime.
Hey guys, Django Fett here, Honey Done Games, comics, TV shows, movies, and more, and this is a review for Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So if you haven't seen my Star Wars Episode 1 movie review, I recommend you check that out, link in the description down below. This is the very reason why I'm starting the prequel movie reviews in the first place, because that was the 20th anniversary, so I did a pretty long video on Star Wars Episode 1, breaking it down and talking about the things I love and, did not like as well. So Star Wars Episode 2 came out in 2002, literally like 3 years after Star Wars Episode 1. And I have a lot to say about this movie, and this movie has garnered the title of Worst Prequel Movie. You could say that with Star Wars Episode 1 as well. But honestly, I have to disagree with that statement. But I do have to say, this is just not a bad movie. It's actually a pretty good movie. And I do recommend you check out Everything Great About Star Wars Episode 2, that video. Really great video. I mean, that guy has some pretty great content when it comes to the prequels. Only when couple of those three videos when I talk about everything great about those Star Wars prequels. And he has some great points. So I'll put a link for that video as well in the description down below. And I also want to mention that I did a novelization book review for Star Wars Episode 2 and Star Wars Episode 1. And I fucking love them, especially Episode 2. I thought that was phenomenal. It blew me away, and they uncover a lot of important information when it comes to the prequels. So I'll put also Star Wars Episode 2 and Star Wars Episode 1, the novelization, in the description down below. And I should do that for the Star Wars Episode 1 review as well. So without further ado, let us just get right into Star Wars Episode 2. This is going to be much like my Foreign Film Madness and other reviews where I just break down the entirety of the film, but I definitely condense it. I don't really talk about every single little thing, but the things that I like in this film and that I want to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into it. Cue the opening credits, and this movie is set 10 years after the events of Star Wars Episode 1, and several thousand systems have declared independence from the Republic to create a separatist state under Dooku. Amidala is returning to Khorasan to vote on whether the Republic should create an army to counter the separatists. Amidala is returning, and she has a decoy in another ship, and goddamn, Khorasan is more beautiful than ever. And when they land, the decoy ship blows up, and Amidala is alive. And this was meant as a terrorist attack to push the Republic to create an army and go to war with the separatists, or to kill Padme and to create the army at the same time. But Padme still believes in negotiations can take place. Amidala meets with Palpatine and Yoda, and they say something ironic, that the dark side clouds everything and it's hard to see the future, while Palpatine is literally in the same room, and you can also see the first appearance of the Crimson Guard too, which I'd never noticed before, right in the background. And Padme mentions that Dooku as a leader of the separatists right away, but it's not confirmed at this point, and I think it would have been a good idea to hide his name in the opening credits and then reveal him to make it that oh my god moment to blow you away. But Palpatine recommends that the Jedi protect Padme and recommends Obi-Wan and Anakin to do it. So we have Ewan McGregor reprising his role as Obi-Wan, a stuck-up teacher at this point, to now older Anakin played by Hayden Christensen, who has gotten a lot of shit over the years for this role. But I have to say, there's a real connection and emotion he brings to these movies, but of course it's not perfect in the form of these memes. But I blame Lucas for the bad writing and direction at various points in this film for his character. And we see Anakin is anxious to see Padme, and he acts really awkward around Padme, which makes sense because Jedi are mostly awkward, and as they should be. And Anakin has never interacted with someone of the opposite sex, especially someone who he is deeply attracted to. How to react to those situations without getting that prior training or watching other people and such. Then we see some worms crawling near Padme. And Anakin saves her, and then a chase develops between the droid and Zam Wesell, who works with Django Fett, and I love the sequence with this chase. It's got some great CGI of the Coruscant nightscape, and it's just an overall really fun sequence to watch. Zam escapes in the cantina, and we see Ahmed Best and Lucas's daughter too. Obi-Wan goes into the bar, and it looks like Zam is approaching Anakin from behind, but it was actually Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan slashes Zam's hand in a scene reminiscent to Episode 4, the cantina scene. Zam later gets killed by Django before she could say who the bounty hunter was hired by her. So they are forced to find out who the bounty hunter is. So Obi-Wan is ordered to track the bounty hunter, and Anakin must safeguard Padme and Naboo. And before leaving, Palpatine gives hints to Anakin of his dark side potential. And we arrive on Naboo, which is just an incredible location once again in Italy, set in this little lake house. And we have Obi-Wan traveling to Kamino and meets with the cloners. A huge clone army is assembled for the Republic and finds out that an army was ordered by Jedi Sifo Dyas, who was killed in the same time the army was ordered. Very peculiar timing. In Visionaries, it was Dooku, masking as Sifo Dyas, who tricked the Kamino people to order the army and killed Sifo Dyas and used his blood as transfusion for General Grievous's revival. Anakin and Padme arrive at the waterfront with this beautiful romantic theme playing, and more later on, and they kiss. Romance was the heavy criticism, but I do think it works in a corny way, especially with the new music playing. And it really fits and amplifies it, especially when they're just sitting in the grass plains. The music is playing and they're just playing with like the creatures and stuff. I don't know, man. I just really love that sequence. And we get the encounter of my boy, Django Fett, played by the great Temuera Morrison, who meets Obi-Wan and young Boba, the unaltered clone requested by Django. And we find he's the assassin hired to kill Padme, to no one's surprise. And I do have to say that Temuera's Django helped usher in the Mandalorians and create a fan base of people who would revere and want to be just like them, more so than Boba's inception in my opinion. Obi-Wan tries to capture Django but results in hand-to-hand fight and space fight en route to Geonosis, giving a Jedi a run for his money. Just really cool stuff. With open seasons and the Django Fett video game, you can see why Django Fett is easily a match for this Jedi. Close to a match, you could say. So Anakin has a nightmare about his mom and tells Padme he must go to Tatooine at this point to save her, and she agrees to help and joins him. So they arrive at Tatooine and they meet Lars. He tells the story of how Tusken stole Shmi and he gets attacked. In the novelization, they explain this story in detail, and I highly recommend you read the novelization. It's fucking incredible. Anakin decides to go after his mom because he still senses her, and this is my favorite moment in the film after the Battle of Geonosis. Anakin gets on the speeder, and the Duel of Fate theme cues. Anakin sneaks into the camp to find his mother, and this is definitely Hayden's best acting in the movie by far. Anakin finds his mother nearly dead, and you can tell he loves his mom so much. And she dies in his arms, and this manifests into Anakin's first taste of the dark side. And his fear turns to anger and bursts out to kill every last Tusken in the camp. And when it goes to Yoda, he senses pain in Anakin. You can actually hear Qui-Gon distantly call out in the Force to stop Anakin. And in the novelization, it's confirmed to be true. I highly recommend you read it because it explains a lot of material. And Anakin actually hesitates in that moment, but continues his rampage. I just always found it interesting that Yoda kept this information hidden from everyone and didn't tell anyone about it. But I guess with the Clone Wars happening, that major conflict, it didn't make sense to distract everyone with this information, so I do see that. Anakin returns with his mother's body to Padme and buries her. These are just genuine sad moments that Hayden does a great job in emoting quite well. And he tells of how he killed all the Tuskens to Padme, and you could see the dark side seething out of him. I just wish that, oh my goodness, Natalie Portman, who is just an excellent actress, just show more horror and fear in her face, because Anakin's dropping a horrible act he committed and she's showing nothing. Just didn't make sense to me at all. The Tusken thing will definitely come to play more in the Clone Wars actually, with the Tusken Jedi in the EU, and Anakin runs into him. You can guess how that goes. Padme and Anakin decide to go to Geonosis to rescue Obi-Wan, and C-3PO join them. Obi-Wan finds out that an army is being built by the Separatists and signing a treaty where the Separatists all work together to fight the Republic. Obi-Wan is then captured and held into prison and questioned by the late Christopher Lee. Rest in peace. Dooku thinks that Qui-Gon would actually join him if he lived, which is interesting, but I do believe he would stay with the Republic and fight Dooku. Dooku reveals that a Dark Lord is controlling the Republic, and that Dooku wants to fight the Dark Lord and the corrupt Republic, which is, of course, a ploy. What is always nice to see is Natalie Portman, especially in her eye candy outfit in the arena, which is very nice. But it's a very peculiar case, because she comes in fully covered, And then after she gets clashed, she gets a completely different outfit and made it more revealing, which doesn't make sense, but it's very nice to my eyes, I will say that. But I had to rewind it several times just to see the outfit change, and yeah, that's the clear as day ever. I never noticed that before. And after a certain period, the Jedi emerge with Mace Windu now duking it out with the droids and doing damage. And we see the Jedi fighting the droids in the first phase of the Geonosis battle, and this would be the breaking point for many Jedi early on in the war, believe it or not. And Django Fett horribly picks a fight with Mace Windu and his jetpack is destroyed, and he dies in the process, and ultimately leading Boba down a dark path. With the Jedi cornered and nearly decimated, Yoda and his clones arrive at the right time, and they start the second phase of the battle, and this is when shit gets really fucking cool, as if it wasn't cool already. Now, even though this was the first battle of many on the Clone Wars, the cost of the battle alone was huge for the Republic and the Separatists, and the battle gave me some really great imagery and EU material of this battle alone. I honestly think this is the best Star Wars battle of all time, more so than the garbage Rogue One and the great Return of the Jedi. Anakin and Obi-Wan pursue Dooku to try to team up and fight him. Anakin charges and gets lit up, so Obi-Wan is forced to fight him alone. Dooku easily beats him, and then Anakin saves him and uses 2 lightsabers, and the lighting is just really cool for this battle. Very reminiscent to Empire Strikes Back with Vader and Luke fighting, but Dooku still beats him handily and, no pun intended, gets his hand cut off. Yoda appears and we get to see Yoda show his awesome skill and force, and especially lightsaber ability, by going everywhere. And I remember everyone cheering, and Yoda was close to winning, but Dooku used a dirty trick to escape. And Yoda knew he could have killed Dooku there and ended the war, but knew he couldn't let 2 Jedi die in the process. So Dooku escapes to Khorasan of all places to deliver the Death Star plans to Sidious, and the war is going as planned for Sidious and the Sith.
The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The Clone War has.
Fucking love that quote, man. And we see the clones assembled in Khorasan to be sent wherever, and on Naboo, Anakin and Padme get married in secret, and the movie ends. So I'm giving Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, a... I love this movie. I thought this was a fantastic prequel movie and really underrated. A lot of people are going to shit on this every day to Sunday, but I actually really enjoyed this movie, and I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. There's a lot of great things that come out of this movie, and there's also some bad things too. I mean, without a doubt, don't get me wrong. But there's also a lot of good that overshadows the bad. So moving on, we have Star Wars Episode 3, the big one that I think many people have wanted me to talk about for a while. And something I've wanted to rewatch for quite some time as well. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But I need to rewatch it basically next month and then review it in September. I just need a lot of time just to focus on getting the script, watching the movie, analyzing every little thing about the movie, and giving you guys my thoughts and constructing the editing. So it's a lot to do with these prequel reviews, because I definitely want to get everything down when it comes to the prequels. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to please like this video, comment down below, tell me what you think of Star Wars Episode 2 in the comment section below. I'm actually really curious. And please be sure to subscribe to the channel Django Fett, and I'll see you, my fellow Mandalorian brothers and sisters, next time. Ooh, yeah!